The 2008 remake for the movie One Missed Call. It reads as this: one of the weakest entries in the J horror remake sweepstakes. One Missed Call is undone by bland performances and shop-worn shocks. Does this movie, One Missed Call from 2008, deserve a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes? I'm going to answer that question in this video, in this review. But first things first, if you like this content, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and also consider subscribing to the channel for more videos just like this. Finally, we're doing another Rotten Tomatoes video. I love doing these videos. They're a lot of fun. Not only do I like picking on these movies, but also I want people to understand that I don't hate these movies. I don't hate these filmmakers. You know, sometimes you have a great idea, you think you're going to capitalize on something, and it doesn't necessarily work out, and that's okay. So let's get into this. So this movie starts off, there's a fire in this hospital. There's a little girl panting and screaming. Now, the panting is so loud and so heavy that it sounds like it's coming directly from where the camera is positioned. But here's the thing, the little girl is inside of the building, the camera is looking outside in, so the sound would never resonate and be that loud outside of the building, and I think that's so funny. After this sequence, we immediately jump in to this young woman who is on the phone talking about some strange phenomena that is happening to her. We don't really understand what's going on. There's no context whatsoever. They kind of just throw us into the scene, and it's in the backdrop of what looks to be a stereotype against Japanese art and Japanese culture. The entire backyard of this woman's house looks like something from The Karate Kid Part 2. And that is a problem. It's painting a stereotype against the Japanese art and Japanese culture. And not only that, but as if you couldn't be any more obvious that you're remaking a Japanese horror film. If you didn't know this, this is the scene for you. This is literally the background for you to look at, because you make it so on the nose and so obvious that it really is a remake. And at that time, I thought to myself, I bet you 100% the original is better than the remake, just off of that fact alone. So anyway, she's trying to find her cat. She has a koi pond, by the way, and she's looking inside the koi pond, and then her cat pops into frame, and then this hand, which is an obvious human hand, it wasn't creepy at all, just comes out of the water, grabs her face and like smushes it. You know when you like smush someone's face like this and they can't even talk? The hand drags her into the koi pond. And the only way we know that she is dead, there's not a struggle, there's one droplet of blood that apparently floats because it gets up to the top. Now I know this movie's PG-13, it was trying to keep that rating, I get it, but why just the one droplet? And also, why does it float? Blood doesn't float in water. Actually, let me look it up. I'm gonna look it up right now. Does blood float in water? Okay, it says, I guess this is a question to like some tests or something. Dear student, whether a fluid floats or sinks in another fluid would depend on their specific gravities. If the specific gravity of blood were greater than that of salt water, the blood would sink. Otherwise, it would float. Okay, so maybe it does float. I don't know what this means. I don't know math. We're talking about a movie here. So maybe they're right, but why the one droplet then? Another thing that I found really funny about this movie is throughout the entire movie, there's only one brand of cell phone, okay? Everybody, apparently in this universe, in this world, uses a Motorola flip phone. Motorola, congratulations, placing your product all over this movie because it's everywhere. And not just Motorola, no. Boost Mobile, yeah. Forget about Verizon, which everyone uses. Forget about AT&T, which everybody uses, kind of. It's like the second. And then you got T-Mobile. Forget about those. No. It's all about Boost Mobile. Who uses Boost Mobile? In the comment section, let me know if you guys use Boost Mobile. I'm very interested and very curious because I guarantee you for every 50 people, there's probably 1 or 2 people that use Boost Mobile. Maybe. That's stretching it. So everyone apparently uses Boost Mobile and everyone uses a Motorola flip phone. In 2008, I don't buy it. At that time, I think I had like the LG, I think there was like touchscreen phones. Like I think I had the LG Chocolate or something. I'm not 100% sure, like the LG Chocolate Touch or something like that. What is this? Do you really think people are stupid where they're like, well, I guess I gotta go buy me a Motorola flip phone in 2008? Was this thing shot in 2005? I was not gonna be surprised at all if I saw a horse and buggy driving out, like riding down the street. I just wouldn't be surprised. This movie is so ancient and it feels old and cheap. And it is old and cheap. Also, every time someone dies, apparently, the way that this movie works is that some paranormal type thing calls a contact at random from their list. So it's random, right? So if you're looking at it from a random point of view, and let's just say we're playing Russian roulette here with the phone numbers and the contacts, how is it possible or probable that every major character in this movie gets the phone call? There's only one explanation. It's because it's not random, but it's supposed to be. See, there's like, what type of rules are established? I don't know. How come somebody gets a call and they die 4 days later? How come some get 2? How come some get the next day? How is it like this? And who is behind all of this? Is this like a Grim Reaper thing, or is this like Satan thing? They don't really explain that well in the movie. They kind of actually brush over that. And I'm gonna get to a little bit more of the third act stuff and the false ending that this movie creates. But I just don't understand a lot about the rules that are established in this world. Another thing is, this movie's not scary. You're supposed to, there's like ghosts and stuff. You see like these weird looking humanoid people. Number one, CGI looks awful. The effects look terrible. It looks like something out of a 1990s video game. Number two, it's not scary because you start the scare by showing the reaction of someone's face before you see something. Let me give you an example. Was that scary? No. You know why? Because my face was the cue to let you know that a scare is coming. That's not genuine. How is that scary? This movie has also kind of jump scares, but they're like so lazy and so dumb and over the top that I don't really consider them actual jump scares. I don't know who would get startled by anything in this movie. This movie's just not scary, and it's very bland because it just felt like they saw The Ring, they saw Grudge, and they're like, we gotta capitalize on the Japanese horror market. Let's do One Missed Call. Let's do it. It doesn't matter what the story's about. It doesn't matter how we establish the rules. It doesn't matter about the scares. We just need that money, baby. We're gonna get people who like the original film. They're gonna come and watch this piece of crap and they're gonna love it. So anyway, like all these friends, they get these calls and it's a missed call. So here's another question that I have. What if you answer the call? I know that I'm getting off the point and it's not even on my notes, but like I'm just thinking to myself, like, what if you actually answered the call? What would happen? Would you die? Or would you not? Now, what happens if you answer and then immediately hang up? I mean, if you're playing phone tag, are you just gonna really make this demon mad? I don't know. These friends are all freaking out because their friends keep dying because they get these calls. And there's this one character named Leanne. Now, Leanne is a character that kind of just gets thrown on the scene. There's one brief mention of her, and then she just comes into scene and she's freaking out because she's the next one in line to die. And I'm sorry, Leanne's death scene though was hilarious to me. I could not stop laughing. It is one of the funniest deaths I've seen in a movie ever. Number one, everything's kind of slowed down, so they try to kind of have like a slow-mo and like an impactful death, but it's not that at all. Number two, the effects look terrible and cheesy. And it was bad. It was bad. Like, not only is this poor actress just not good at all in this role, but it's just, you have that mixed in with terrible effects and a terrible attempt at trying to make some type of emotional gut punch moment. And it's just laughable. I could not stop laughing. I thought it was hilarious. Then you get this character, Brian, who apparently kind of in a way nonchalantly, subtly say that him and Leanne had a thing or dated or something, I don't know. But they're at her funeral and they're outside and these girls are talking. One of them is this girl that Brian liked, but not really because he's kind of a jerk to her. They're talking about how they're freaking out and they're wondering if they're gonna be next. And Brian in the most natural way possible and the most bland and uninspiring acting performance ever.
Voicemail?
Call came in 2 nights ago.
You hear your death,
They get in your head, Beth.
and then you die.
Look, these things work here. They get in your head, Beth.
Yeah, straight face. I have nothing to say. This guy cannot act. I would not be surprised if this is the only movie he's ever been in. He was awful. He was the worst actor in this entire film. I do think the lead actress was actually good. The guy who played Brian, not a fan. His line delivery is awful. It's very boring and messy. And you always get these characters in horror movies that are like the dark and conspicuous characters. I hate that. I hate that. Why does that have to happen all the time? I don't get it. This movie also reminded me a lot of a mix between Final Destination and The Ring, and the ending kind of leaned more towards what they do in The Ring in a way, in a sense. This movie also commits a cardinal sin in film that I think is overlooked sometimes, and that is the fact that this detective, who is a professional working this case, trying to figure out what is going on, brings along this random, normal civilian who is now a detective, I guess. I hate when movies do this. Why do they do this? In The Ring, it's very different because it's about a wife and a husband investigating, and it's not their job. It's neither one of their jobs. They're just doing it because they are trying to protect their son and their family. Whereas in this movie, the reason for why she wants to go and team up with the detective and with this cop is because she wants to save her friends, as she says. These are my friends. If this happened in real life, that cop would be fired. I don't understand why this happens in so many movies. It's not just this movie, it's a lot of movies. It's a cardinal sin, man. Step away from it. I don't know why they're so intrigued by this idea of a police officer or detective working with a civilian, someone who has no right even investigating. It doesn't matter if it's their friends. There's also this backstory throughout the entire film. A main character, the protagonist, she has this childhood trauma with her mother. She was abused by her mother. They kind of bring it up in such a sporadic way, and it's just immediately thrown away. There's no resolution or restitution for what happens to her as a character. The filmmakers were just like, we need to have her have some type of trauma that really helps her character grow. Well, I'm sorry, she had the trauma, but how does that help her grow at the end? She stays the exact same throughout the film. It makes zero sense to have this backstory in there. It's just, you're wasting screen time. Towards the final act of the movie, as things keep going on, and the fact that the protagonist is going to die within a day, which some people got to live 2 days or 3 or 4 days. Why she only get a day, I don't know again. But she ends up going to the hospital that burnt down. They find out more about the mother. They believe that the mother is abusing her children. That's what they believe. So then I'm like, okay, I guess they're tying in her backstory with this case. But then come to find out that it's not the mother, it's the older sister. The older sister was abusing the little girl from the beginning of the film who survived. For what reason? I don't know, it's never mentioned. You find out the way that this whole phone tag thing started, the weird like Final Destination like chain, and it's stupid and it makes zero sense, and you're just like, okay. They show you that this young girl, the one who is the older sister, who's evil essentially, is dying because of asthma. She's choking from what? I don't know. She grabs her inhaler, she's like puffing it, but nothing's coming out apparently. Her mother locks her in the door because she finds out that she's cutting her sister with a knife, and she wants sympathy. Sympathy? You cut your sister with a knife, and you're not like little, you're like at least a teenager. And so she calls this number, and they never lead into what that number meant or who that was or how this whole thing started, and it's stupid. I'm gonna guess she called Satan or like the Grim Reaper. That makes more sense in my head than saying that she called some random person or random entity or thing, and it was just a coincidence that all this happened. Anyway, the decrepit corpse of her mother is found in the hospital, kind of somewhat alive, but not really. and she decides she wants to save the protagonist from her daughter, who's evil. She somehow saves her, and that's kind of it. I'm trying to think of the ending is just really stupid. It's a false ending. They make you believe the movie's over. It keeps going, and just like The Ring, the chain wasn't really broken. And then the movie ends with the detective, the police guy, dying because he was the next one, because it skipped over the protagonist. A number gets dialed for the next person in line, and she stands there and just lets it happen. That's how the movie ends. What a garbage ending to a movie that is very bad. This movie is laughable, it's funny, it's very bland, very lazy, and it's a cash grab. Does this movie deserve a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes? I'm actually gonna say no. It's kind of funny because this is not a good movie. I would give this movie, maybe I'd give it, you know what, I'd probably give it maybe a 1 out of 5. I mean, it's a movie. It's shot in focus. It tries to do something. The thing is, it doesn't deserve a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes because I've seen horror movies that are worse than this, that actually have a Rotten Tomato score that's better than 5% even. So no, this movie doesn't deserve a 0%. And this is the first time, maybe even the only time, that I'll ever maybe say that. Yes, it's a laughable movie. Yes, it's bad, but I don't think it deserves a 0% because I've seen worse horror films than this. Now, I'm never gonna watch this piece of garbage again. When I compare this to Brahms the Boy 2, I think this movie might even be more enjoyable than Brahms the Boy 2. But anyway, guys, that is the video. Those are my thoughts on One Missed Call. What do you think? Do you think it deserves a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, or have you even seen the movie? All your comments and thoughts, let me know down below in the comment section of this video. Guys, I thought this was gonna be a shorter video. I had a lot of fun filming this though. It was a little bit longer than anticipated, but I do love making these videos. I wanted to do a January horror movie because January is the time of the year when they dump crappy horror movies out to the world. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you all for all the support. Again, make sure to hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and I will see you guys on the next Does This Movie Deserve a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes? Peace.